I don't know if you remember this, but LG used to be called Gold Star. And even though they went through a rebranding and a renaming, they had a really tough time breaking into the US TV market, especially with Japanese titans out there like Sony and Toshiba and JVC. Well, we know how that story ended, and I think we're looking at something very similar with Hisense. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison. Today we are unboxing and setting up the Hisense H8G. It's an upgraded version of the H8 that we looked at earlier. And I think that you're going to find Hisense is going to have a huge presence in the US very soon. And it's going to put the hurt on TCL and Vizio a little bit. The H8G is definitely not one of the flagship TVs, but it's up there. And the value is going to be immense. So we'll talk about that more in a second. Let's unbox this guy. Here's what's coming in the box with the TV. You've got some product literature, see ya. The remote, nothing real special. Feels kind of cheap, honestly. There is a Google Assistant button though, and that will feature prominently later. Then we have a couple of obviously pre-used AAA batteries, a power cable, some screws, and some feet. These are metal, and they do come with little clips for cable management. So here's a simple but nice touch. There are actually two locations for the feet. One towards the center, one on the exterior. If you don't have a whole lot of stand space, you can go with the inside placement. We've got plenty, so we're gonna go with the outside. That's a little bit more stable. And then after that, it's just a matter of screwing. While we're down here, let's just look at the connections. There's two USB and optical. There's a total of 4 HDMI ports. 4K 60 only, so no HDMI 2.1 stuff going on here. And then curiously, we have some actual AV inputs, which is interesting. So for the price, this is not a bad looking TV. There is no real bezel around the edges here. We will see a little bit of a black border once we turn it on. Obviously, there's a bit more of a bezel down along the bottom. The matte legs are nice. They don't call attention to themselves, and they're sleek. The most flashy thing on this TV is the Hisense badge in the middle. Otherwise, it looks really nice. All right, here we go. If you recognize this screen, that's right, it's Android TV, H8G. The G stands for Google. So let's get going. And I'm actually going to speed this up for you a little bit because we don't need to see everything here. But what you should expect is to accept some terms and conditions. You may want to get logged into Google if that's your thing. Do check your terms of service. Make sure that you're okay with it collecting location data and viewing data. This is, of course, entirely up to you. None of these choices are going to really impact your viewing experience. It's really about privacy. Your HiSmart TV A4 is powered by Android TV. This, well, that's kind of interesting. I thought it was the H8G, probably called something else in Asian markets, and so they didn't change that. Interesting. So earlier I said none of the decisions you were making were going to affect your viewing experience. That seems to be different with the case here. Automatic content recognition, picture mode auto adaptation, sound mode auto adaptation. I am going to not consent to these for now and circle back and see if they make any kind of difference for the full review. All right, Google splash screen, and obviously we have some more apps to install. We'll get to that later. Let me turn down the volume so it's not bugging me. And we obviously need to go straight to the settings because this TV is bright as all get out and the color is clearly not right. So this should look really familiar. Let's get out of energy saving. And I'm gonna go with theater day because we do have a little bit of light in here. Plus I'd want to start with a slightly brighter picture. And let's move down here to advanced settings, see what's in there. Overscan, I don't need that on. Color temperature low. Low? Okay, I think it means warm. Let's play with this a little bit. Medium, yeah, okay, so color temperature, we'll keep it at low. That's a warmer color temperature. Motion enhancement, let's turn that off. We can play around with how that works later. Motion clearness is already off. Noise reduction, medium, that's fine. We'll leave that stuff at default settings to see how this TV performs. Enhanced viewing angle. That is playing with the contrast, but I'm gonna leave that off for now and leave the color space auto. That's for when we move into HDR. Calibration settings, what did they put in here? Okay, so we've got some gamma. This is where we go in and adjust the color and the white balance and get the gamma where we want it. Normally I would go to 2.4, and yeah, I am. I'm gonna stick with that. I'm gonna go with 2.4 to get started. That's before we do any measurements or adjustments. And I am going to go ahead and apply the picture settings to all sources. So that'll take care of all our HDMI inputs, but if I'm not mistaken, we want to go into an app and adjust picture settings there. That should cover all of the apps. All right, so it took me a second to figure out how to get to picture settings. You need to press the button with the 3 lines on it. Hitting home just takes you back to the home screen. And I am pleased to be wrong. It's carried over my picture settings to the apps, at least YouTube. So that's actually a really convenient feature. Yeah, it looks like it retained my settings. So when it says apply to all sources, it appears to also include apps. Okay, so I popped into Netflix, grabbed Space Force, and I swear I see motion smoothing. I'm gonna pause and I'm gonna check my settings because I believe that, okay, yeah, we're in Dolby Vision Bright, which is what I wanted, but apparently we need to go into advanced settings and turn off motion enhancement. All right, so it did maintain some essential settings, but I'm really surprised to see motion smoothing turned on in Dolby Vision. That's really too bad. All right, so with that turned off, I know that Dolby Vision is set up correctly if we want Dolby Vision Bright. And yeah, we're definitely in Dolby Vision. Hisense claims about 700 nits for peak brightness on this TV. And right now, I am inclined to believe them. All right, so one of the things I really wanted to know was how well has Hisense handled the operation of Android TV? And I gotta tell you, I'm really surprised. It's snappier than I expected. It's not as snappy as the Sony A9G or A8H, but it's totally respectable. Generally speaking, when I use Android TV, I'm really frustrated because it can't keep up with my scrolling, but there's no problem with that here. And I'll show you when we wanna load up Netflix, it opens right up. Now, that's because I already opened it up and signed in, but it's clearly keeping it in its queue so that when you go back into an app, it's almost instantaneous access. Okay, let's review what we've got so far. Unboxing, painless. The setup was a little bit funny. There were definitely some moments there where I didn't understand the language that was being used, but you know, we can get over that. I'll review it some more and we'll go through some of that in the full review video when we get there. First impressions, it's a bright TV. Even, you know, the theater mode, which is usually darker and is in this case darker, is still a very, very bright setting. The colors are going to need some adjustment. It is not super accurate out of the box like we see with super high-end TVs, but that's to be expected to a certain degree. One really weird thing that's happening right now is this TV is squealing at me. It's very audible, even from like the normal seating position, especially when I'm up close. It reminds me of the old flyback transformers in CRT TVs, but it doesn't have one of those. So I think it's the power supply, not really sure. I'm gonna ask Hisense what's up with that. But what we really need to talk about here is the price. This is a 65-inch TV with quantum dots, Android built in, and it's $700. Contrast that with the TV that we just reviewed, the Sony A8H. Here's a link to that. It's a banger. That TV is $2,800. So we're talking about a $2,100 difference between that TV and this TV. Right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you this TV is gonna present an amazing value. The question is, how does it compare to other TVs in its price class? That's something that we're definitely gonna have to dig into with the review. But my overall impressions right now are pretty good. We're looking at about 100 zones of local dimming, and the blooming control looks pretty good so far. Just a couple of quick tests. I'm highly encouraged, and I'm definitely looking forward to the full review on this TV. Hey everyone, thanks as always for watching. Given this is not exactly a top tier TV, what do you want to see covered in the review? Hit me with a comment down below. I'll do my best to accommodate you. And of course, always like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and visit digitaltrends.com for the latest tech news and reviews.